Hello everyone and welcome back to your one and only favorite channel, Let's Crack NEET UG in English. I am Aditi Gupta, your biology educator. And in today's class, we're going to discuss about environmental issues. Dear students, the most serious issues these days. And yes, your NCRT syllabus also have a well-dedicated chapter to discuss about, various threats which are posing towards our environment, which are threatening our survival on this very planet where, you know, where our ancestors have survived, right? But now, considering the present environmental threats which are there in the form of various types of pollutions, okay, are hampering human growth and survival. So let us begin this chapter of class 12 and let us explore what are the different threats which are, threatening our survival in this very planet Earth and how they can be tackled. Okay, and let us see if they can be tackled at all or not, because the present level is anyways beyond control, right? So come on, let's begin. So this is the link to our Telegram channel. You can stay connected to all of us with the help of this Telegram channel, guys. If you're still not joined, join with the help of this link. Now, let me introduce myself to those who are new to my session. So, guys, my name is Aditi Gupta, and I have been mentoring students for the past 6 years for their NEET UG preparation. I myself have secured an All India rank of 61 in the prestigious GATE examination and have pursued my MTech from IIT Kanpur in Biological Sciences and Bioengineering. I am here to share my knowledge, which will definitely help you in cracking NEET UG examination with a really good rank. And students, in today's session, I'm going to tell you some great announcement, and this is the announcement, guys. Unacademy is providing a exclusive crash course. Okay, the batch has already started from December 15, and the batch name is Alpha Achievers Batch. This batch is exclusively for dropper students. Okay, that means 12 pass out students. Here you will be, you will be taught with all the three subjects, physics, chemistry, and biology, by the topmost team of educators. Okay, and this batch is exclusively for the preparation of NEET 2021. Okay, so those who have still not got the chance and are missing certain points in their preparation can surely join this batch. Okay, so it has already started from December 15th. And there are very famous names in this particular batch. As you can see, zoology will be taught by Dr. Amit Gupta, Sandeep Nodial for botany, Ramesh Sharda for inorganic chemistry, Ajay Kumar Mishra for physical chemistry, Shubkaran Chaudhary for organic chemistry, and Prateek Jain for physics. Okay, will be the team of educators over there. Now, similarly, there is another batch which is exclusively for NEET 21 revision, where you will be provided with practice questions. Yes, my dear students, 15,000 practice questions along with various daily practice problems, DPPs, right? So the phase 1 of this NEET 21 revision batch has already started from December 9. If you have still not joined the batch, go join and take the benefit. Educators there are Pranav Pondarik, Sharad Chandra, and Ravi Prakash. Okay, students, this is the important announcement from Unacademy. Now you are well aware of the fact that educators from all across the country are available on board on this amazing platform called Unacademy. And if you wish to prepare under their valuable guidance, you need to go for Unacademy subscription. So what are the benefits of having Unacademy subscription and how can you proceed for the same? Students, you need to download Unacademy Learning app. It's available absolutely free of cost in the Play Store or iOS. Now this Unacademy Learning app hosts some absolutely free of cost features like special classes. Each and every educator on the platform provides their valuable special classes that too absolutely free of cost. Talking about my timing on Unacademy Learning app, some live daily at 11:30 a.m. Okay, for my special classes. I have already updated my schedule over there. You can follow me using the link provided in the description box to get all the updates of my upcoming lectures. Similarly, students, the quiz feature is also available absolutely free of cost. There are various test series running on the platform which you don't have to pay any amount for in order to participate. Similarly, Unacademy NEET Combat. Yes, Unacademy NEET Combat is also available free of cost. You just have to download Unacademy Learning app and use my referral code AG001. So these features will definitely enhance your learning experience. Okay, so do not miss now. Coming towards the subscription part, so as I told you, to be under the valuable guidance of the topmost team of educators, you need to go for Unacademy subscription. Now, there are two platforms on Unacademy subscription, Unacademy Plus and Unacademy Iconic. In both the cases, you will be provided with daily interactive live classes from the topmost team of educators. Okay, and sub classes will be for all the three subjects, physics, chemistry, and biology. Okay, along with the regular, well-dedicated doubt clearing sessions. Just after every 3 or 4 theory classes, you will be provided with a doubt clearing session. Have the flexibility to choose your educator. You have the flexibility to choose your batch. The complete NEET UG syllabus will be covered in a detailed manner along with the PDF notes, and those PDF notes will be provided to you directly by the educator. Okay. Similarly, your knowledge will be evaluated on the basis of live tests and quizzes. Students, you will be provided with your daily rankings, right? Excuse me. And on the basis of these ranks, you will be, you will be able to evaluate where you stand among your competitors. There are thousands and thousands of students enrolled on this amazing platform called Unacademy and preparing for their competitive examinations, right? Then you will be getting unlimited access. That means all the NEET UG content which is available on the platform, okay, will be made accessible to you. The video lectures of all the educators, all the 50+ educators who are available on the platform will be made available to you with a single subscription. Okay, so you don't have to subscribe them individually. Okay, all these benefits of Plus are also included in Iconic, as mentioned over here. Iconic has some new features like you will be getting your own personal coach, your own personalized study planner, and in-depth test analysis. That means you will get to know what mistakes you are doing, what mistakes you are, making, and what are the reason behind those mistakes so that you can rectify them. Because once you will know those mistakes, you will have the idea behind, you will get the idea why you're doing such mistakes in the examination. Then only you won't repeat them again in the NEET examination. And you know that NEET UG examination is the competitive exam, is the toughest competitive exam you can say, because it's highly competitive exam where the margin of error is very, very, very less, right? So you need to know how to control your negative marking, and your in-depth test analysis feature will definitely help you in this thing. Okay. Then from time to time you will be getting expert motivational sessions. Okay, what will happen? The advice which the experts will provide to you, you can incorporate those advice on your preparation journey, and this will definitely help you, right? This will definitely keep your motivation high. This will keep your spirit high. Now, you can choose the platform either Plus or Iconic depending upon your requirement and your convenience. There are multiple subscription plans available. The shorter duration subscription plans are generally for crash courses. We know that for conceptual, clarity of all these three subjects for NEET UG examination, we need at least 1 year or 2 years of time. Okay, students targeting NEET 2021 who have still not taken the subscription still have the 6 months time left. Okay, so let's say you have decided to go for 2 year of Iconic plan. It costs you rupees 1 lakh. But students, if you use my referral code, which is 80001, you will be getting an instant 10% discount. That means now you have to pay only rupees 90,000. And this referral code is applicable throughout the Unacademy platform. That means whatever courses you want to buy, you can use my referral code to get an instant 10% discount. Okay. So that was the important information for you, which will definitely help you in your preparation for NEET UG examination. Now come on, let's begin with our today's session. So today's session is a very sensitive, very sensitive one. In fact, all the sessions which I'm going to take for this particular chapter, environmental issues, is a really sensitive one. It is a hot topic these days, right? Because we, our generation, and definitely the upcoming generation, we are facing, the most, we can say, till now, the most effect of the pollution, which is rising these days. Right? Time is drastically changing in terms of the pollution, and we need to go for various sustainable ways, right? In order for our upcoming generations to survive on this very planet Earth, we need to save this planet, and for that we need to have an idea how we are contributing to those pollutions, right? And how we can eliminate them from the system. Okay. So students, starting with the term pollution, First, we must have the idea what is the meaning of this pollution. Well, we know, we have seen in the last previous chapter that no individual is present alone, right? We are, social animals. Living organisms, they are present in groups, right? They are continuously interacting among themselves also, among the members of other species also, and with their environment also in order to survive. There is a continuous interaction taking place. Now, what happens if we, if we take all the services which our environment provides us for granted, which I bet we have taken, right? We already have taken all the services which our environment provides us for granted, right? Because we don't have to pay anything, right? Remember in the last class of the ecosystem, I discussed about ecosystem services. And I told you a scientist and his team, right, Robert Constanza, he decided to put a price tag on all the environmental services which the ecosystem provides, right? So that was estimated to be around US dollar 33 trillion. Remember? So guys, we are continuously, taking the advantage of our environment because this interaction is required, but we should not overexploit it. We have reached a level of overexploitation, right? So now, come on, let's see what is pollution. So any change which is not desirable in nature, that means that change was not needed nor wanted, right? So any change which is not desirable in nature and which is changing the physical property, the chemical property, or the biological property of any biotic as well as abiotic component, okay, and which is definitely gonna impact living organisms, you know, those this change is referred to as the pollution. Going through the definition, any undesirable change in the physical, chemical, or biological characteristics of air, water, and land, which is harmful to the man directly or indirectly, to his animals, plants, and industrial unit or raw materials is called pollution. Okay, so those changes which are going to alter the characteristics of air, water, or land, either the physical characteristic or the chemical characteristics or the biological characteristics, and that is going to have an impact upon us or on us either directly or through indirectly. So that is pollution. Those substances which are which are producing this undesirable change, those substances which are producing these undesirable change are known as the pollutants. Are known as what? Pollutants, right? Students, the government of India, drafted a law which is known as Environment Protection Act. This is given in your NCERT. Environment Protection Act 1986, right? To control the environmental pollution. So this act was implemented to control the environmental pollution, because for many years we didn't realize that whatever activities we are performing in this race of or in this order of development, we are harming our environment enormously, and we have reached a limit where we cannot reverse the damage which we have done to this planet. And in order for the sustainability of life on this planet, we need to become awake even at this time, right? Otherwise, the consequences are going to be really, really severe. Okay. So the Environment Protection Act in 1986 was drafted by Government of India in order to control the environmental pollution. Now I told you what are pollutants. So these are the agents which are going to change the physical, chemical, or biological characteristic of the air, water, or land, and that too, that change is undesirable in nature. Okay, so let us have an idea of what are the different types of pollutants which exist, right? So guys, moving ahead towards the type of pollutants. So first of all, what is pollutant? So any material or act on the part of man or nature which leads to the pollution is called pollutant. Okay, so any material or act which is leading to the change, which is leading to the undesirable change, that means which is leading to the pollution, is called pollutant, right? Now the pollution is usually brought about by the addition of waste product to the environment by human activities. And this is the main reason, my dear students. The pollution, the main reason of pollution is what? Because we are continuously putting up pressure on our environment. We are continuously putting, a big amount of waste. We are continuously accumulating that big amount of waste on our environment that is acting as pollution, and that is hampering our life, right? So, moving ahead, now the pollutants, it can be either any chemical or any product which is going to alter the natural balance. Okay, so pollutants can be chemicals or any other product which is going to alter means change the natural balance of the environment. Okay, so the pollutants can stimulate or inhibit the biological reactions or change their capacity. Whatever biological reactions are taking place, right? These pollutants, they can either stimulate the rate of reaction, okay, can make it either very fast, or can inhibit, that means stop that biological reaction, okay, and even sometimes they change their capacity or change their efficiency also. So this is how the pollutants are impacting, the environment and causing the pollution. Okay. Now, the pollutants are usually divided into two broad categories, that is the non-biodegradable pollutant and the biodegradable pollutant. And yes, I know most of you, very well understand the meaning of these terms. Non-degradable pollutants. So the pollutants which are not degraded, okay, or which are partially degraded in the environment. We know that let's say upon the death of living organism, what happens? The decomposers, right? The decomposers, they act upon that organic matter and slowly decomposes it, right? So this is how it is not clustered. Now, non-degradable means there is no such mechanism or no such criteria or no such action through which these pollutants can be degraded, right? So what will happen? These pollutants will keep on piling up in the system, right? Examples: aluminium PEX, mercury compounds, iron, phenolic compounds, glass, DDT, benzene, BSC pesticides. These are various, chemicals, we can say, which are non-biodegradable in nature or non-degradable in nature. So these pollutants, since they are non-degradable in nature, so even when they are present at low concentration, they are, causing the harm to the environment, because they are anyways not going to go anywhere. They are anyways going to, collect or accumulate there. So even at low concentration, they are causing harm to the environment, and the harm which they are causing to the environment will keep on increasing as their concentration is increasing. Okay, so the concentration of non-degradable pollutants increases. That means the harm to the environment also increases in a proportionate manner. Okay, so these pollutants are harmful even in low concentration, and harm increases with their increasing concentration. Okay, now talking about biodegradable pollutants. So students, as I told you, the substances which are organic in nature are acted upon by the decomposers which are found in our environment, right? And those, by the action of those decomposers, the organic compound is decomposed, right? So that it is not accumulated in the environment. But this will happen only till only up to a point till the balance is maintained. If we pile up the organic wastes, we pile up the organic wastes, and the rate of decomposition is anyways very slow, what will happen? The decomposers will not be able to decompose these substances efficiently. So what will happen? Those organic substances will begin to accumulate in the environment. So if domestic sewage papers, oats, garbage, livestock wastes, that means all the wastes which are related to living organisms, right? All the organic wastes enters into the environment in much larger quantities. They are anyways going to be part of the environment, right? But when they are introduced in a much larger quantity, then what happens? They are not degraded completely, right? Then addition of these material causes pollution to the environment, because they are now getting accumulated in the environment. They are now getting what? Accumulated in the environment. They are not getting degraded completely. This is the term. Okay. So initially the decomposers, they play a very crucial role. But once the process is beyond the limit capacity of decomposers, then they start to pile up. So these are the biodegradable pollutants. So these are the two broad categories of the pollutants based upon their decomposition, non-degradable and degradable or the biodegradable. Okay. Moving ahead, the pollutants are, the pollutants are classified into different types based on different criteria. So on the basis of degradation, they were either non-degradable or degradable. Now, on the basis of their addition to the environment, they are of two types: primary pollutants and secondary pollutants. So the primary pollutants are those pollutants which are added to the environment, and they, directly by us, let's say, and they stay in the form in which they were added. That means they do not undergo any sort of modification. They do not perform any other reactions. They stay in the form in the form they were added to the environment, right? So these primary pollutants, they persist in the form in which they were added to the environment. So this is the example of primary pollutant. Example is DDT. Example is carbon monoxide. Now talking about secondary pollutants. So secondary pollutants are formed by the chemical reaction, and that chemical reaction has taken place among the primary pollutants. So when certain primary pollutants, they react among themselves to form a different type of pollutant, that is the secondary pollutant. That means it is not originally present in the environment, but it is formed by the combination of various primary pollutants. And the very famous example includes the smog. Smog, photochemical smog, or Los Angeles smog, London smog. These two smog are very famous. Okay, very famous smog, which I'm going to discuss in today's class itself. Then PAN, peroxyethyl nitrate formation or ozone formation. So these are the secondary pollutants. Okay, and all these secondary pollutants, they are formed as a result of the reaction which is known as synergism. What is synergism? The reaction which is taking place among the primary pollutants in order to form the secondary pollutant is known as synergism. Okay, so syn is together. So synergism basically says that all the primary pollutants, they are combining together, they are acquiring together and creating all together a different threat to the environment and a more harmful one. Okay, so all these different pollutants, when combined together, they are posing a synergistic effect, synergistic harmful effect, right? And that is why these secondary pollutants, they are more harmful when they are present. Okay, so on the basis of their presence in the environment, the primary pollutant and the secondary pollutant. I hope this point is clear. Now moving ahead, let us understand the type of pollutant on the basis of their existence in the nature. On the basis of their existence in the nature, the pollutants again are of two types: quantitative pollutants and qualitative pollutants. Quantitative, as the name suggests, we are going to discuss the quantity. That means they were present in the environment and even in the natural condition also. But due to certain reasons, maybe because of our involvement, its limit or its concentration has increased. And now that increased concentration is a threat to us or is harmful to us. So that is the quantitative pollutant. That means those pollutants which were anyways present in the environment, but when their concentration increases, now it is harmful to us and now it is acting as a pollutant. Okay. So these are the substances which occur in nature but become pollutant when their concentration reaches beyond a threshold value. Okay. So beyond a maximum limit, when their concentration increases, then they are the pollutant. Example, see the carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxide. They are anyways present in the environment, but when present beyond a certain concentration, they will be behaving as pollutant. Okay. Now, talking about the qualitative pollutants. What are these qualitative pollutants? That means, it doesn't matter the quantity in which they are present. Even their presence itself will make, the environment, can say, negative for our survival. Okay. So the qualitative pollutants are, these are the substances which do not occur in the environment but are passed in through the human activity. That means we are the one responsible for these qualitative pollutants. We are the one introducing these qualitative pollutants. That means those substances which are normally or naturally not found in the environment. Okay. Example, We used various, pesticides, you can say the fungicides, the herbicides, DDT, etc. So these were not naturally not present. We are the one who have introduced it to the environment, and their presence, their mere presence in the environment is a threat, is causing a pollution, and these type of substances are known as qualitative pollutants. So we have seen, different types of pollutant on the basis of their nature. It can be degradable or non-degradable, right? It can be the primary and the secondary on the basis of their addition to the environment. It can be quantitative or qualitative. Moving ahead. Now, there are different types of pollution. Okay. There are different types of pollution. Natural pollution. Natural pollution is because, change in the physical, chemical or biological characteristic of the environment because of the natural substances. Let's say, we know that methane gas is produced from the, marshy areas or from the paddy fields or from the cattle or from the forest fires. So that methane gas is getting produced because of natural reactions which are taking place. But this presence of methane, is causing, or this excess presence of methane is causing undesirable change in the characteristic property of the environment. Thus, it is causing pollution. So natural pollution is caused by natural sources like methane from the paddy fields and cattle, or marshy areas, or forest fires. Similarly, anthropogenic pollution. The anthropogenic, as the name suggests, it is man, man is responsible for this type of pollution. That means it is caused due to human activities. We are the sole responsible member for these anthropogenic pollution, human generated or man generated. Okay. Talking about negative pollution and positive pollution. So negative pollution, what is negative pollution? Negative pollution is the pollution which is taking place in the condition when something which was supposed to be present in that particular environment is now not present. Okay. So by the removal of something which was meant to be present at that particular environment, the property of the environment has disturbed. Okay. And this is known as the negative pollution. So removal or absence of desirable substances at right places, which results in the loss of productivity. Let's say because of soil erosion or overgrazing, what happened? The soil productivity was lost. So this is what? This is an example of a negative pollution. Okay. Similarly, if we talk about positive pollution, that means substance, certain undesirable substance which was not meant to be present in that particular environment, but now is present. Okay, so the presence of an undesirable substance which was normally not found is now causing pollution because it is now changing the characteristic property of that particular environment. So this is positive pollution. So the presence or addition of undesirable substances at wrong place, which results in reduction of soil fertility. Let's say, by using more amount of biofertilizers, we are using more amount of fertilizers. So what will happen? Excess fertilizers will anyways, make the soil less productive, or filling of the land space by various wastes. This is also, degenerating the property or the quality of the land. Okay, so these are the positive pollution which is caused due to the presence of certain substance. Negative pollution is caused by the absence of the desirable substance, whereas positive pollution is caused by the presence of an undesirable substance. Okay, so I hope all these terms are clear to you. Okay, do not feel like, ma'am, do we need to study these different types of pollution because it is not given in the NCERT as such. My dear students, each and everything is given in the NCERT, right? But in different contexts, in different lines, right? So I have just summarized all the points. Okay, we already know about all these processes which I'm discussing. Okay, most of the things we already know. So we are just outlining them because by having a clear outline, we'll be having a clear-cut roadmap of what we need to study, right? So we won't get confused if questions is asked from any of the points. Okay. Now, let us go through the different types of pollution, starting with the air pollution, right? The air pollution. And these days in news, the quality of air is the most heated topic, you can say, or the most common topic which we are regularly or continuously, listening, especially in the metro cities or in the big cities. the quality of air has degraded so poorly, which has lead to development of various threats to the environment and to the survival of living organism also, right? So we need to take essential steps which will help us to bring this air pollution to a lower level. Because if we have not acted now, there will be no time left for us and we would have harmed the environment irreversibly, right? So we need to be very sensitive. We need to be really awake of what we are doing. So continuously we see on advertisement on the television to stop driving for once a week, right? To do not burn crackers, or there are multiple things to less utilization of the vehicles, right? More utilization of the public transport, right? Because this will reduce the number of vehicles on the roads, thus reduce the harmful emissions which are getting emitted from those vehicles. Okay, so there are various methods which government is trying to implement to have a control on the air quality index, right? So what is air pollution? So air pollution is caused due to any undesirable substances, right? Any undesirable or unwanted substance when present in the air and is altering the quality of the air, okay, is causing air pollution. So air pollution is caused due to addition of unwanted substances or gases. Now, what are those substances which are changing the quality of the air or which are causing the air pollution? So the substances can either be the gases or the particulate matters or materials. So the particulate, also known as the particulate matters, the suspended particles, they are also very serious if they are present in large numbers. So what are gases? So the gaseous materials including the various gases and their vapors. Okay, so including various gases and vapors of volatile substances, when they are present in a significantly higher concentration, then they are causing air pollution. Okay, so the gaseous material include various gases and vapors of volatile substances or the compound with a boiling point below 200 degrees centigrade. Okay, so these substances if present in the air will be causing air pollution. What are particulates? So the particulate matter, generally they consist of what? The solid particles or the liquid droplets as in aerosols, right? They are small enough to remain suspended in the air, because if it was large enough to get sedimented, the problem would not have been created, because once the particle has settled down, it won't be entering into our nostrils, into our respiratory system with the air which we are breathing, right? So these are small particles which are suspended in the air. Example includes soot, smoke, dust, asbestos, fibers, pesticides, certain metals, including the heavy metals, mercury, lead, copper, iron. Okay, so these different substances, they stay suspended in the air. Okay, and whenever we inhale the air with these particulate matter, it poses a real threat to our respiratory system. In fact, the biological agents, various pollen grains of various flowers, it leads to the development of pollen allergy. Various tiny dust mites, they're also present as particulate matter. So the particles with diameter 0.1 micrometer or less, can remain suspended in air for weeks. Not only for days, they can remain suspended in air for weeks. And these suspended particulate matter, they generally stay suspended in the lower atmospheric region, that is in the tropospheric region, and it causes causes and it aggravates, that means it increases human respiratory illness. Various diseases like the asthma or the chronic bronchitis, various diseases related to lungs are caused because of the air pollution. Okay, various diseases are caused. Going ahead, what are the major air pollutants which we observe in the air and what are their effects in our body? Starting with the carbon monoxide. So it is one of the main air pollutant which is released from these automobiles. Okay, so the smoke which we see which are released from the automobiles, they generally contain a very good concentration of carbon monoxide. And this carbon monoxide, my dear student, is a highly toxic gas. Why it is toxic? In fact, it is lethal in certain conditions. Why? Because it has a good affinity with hemoglobin. Yes, In the presence of carbon monoxide and also oxygen, the hemoglobin molecules has more affinity towards this carbon monoxide. So this hemoglobin, it binds with carbon monoxide instead of oxygen. So what will happen? If we stay in the high concentration of carbon monoxide for a considerable amount of time, our body, cells of our body will become, oxygen deficient. Our body cells will become anoxic, right? Because of oxygen deprivation. Why? Because the oxygen transporter molecule, the hemoglobin, is now not carrying oxygen. It is carrying the carbon monoxide. Okay, thus it impairs the respiration and it causes death due to asphyxiation when inhaled in large amount. Okay, so main reason is carbon monoxide. In fact, in the winter season, in the many regions of India, we have seen there is a habit of burning, wood in a setup called a sigri, right? If in a closed room, if a person burns that sigri and closes the room entirely with no proper ventilation because this is winter season, right? And sleeps, there is no chance that person will be awake next morning. Why? Because the smoke which is getting released by the burning of the wood, it contains this carbon monoxide. It contains this carbon monoxide, and in the closed room, what happened? The carbon monoxide concentration will increase in that environment, right? And then it will slowly be inhaled by the person. And then what will happen? The hemoglobin will bind from carbon monoxide instead of oxygen. The cells will become anoxic and the person will die because of asphyxiation. Okay, so this is the effect of carbon monoxide when inhaled. Now talking about the next, which is the unburned hydrocarbons. Okay, so the source of these unburned hydrocarbons are majorly the burning of fossil fuels. That means they are coming mainly from the automobiles, because the automobiles, they are run mainly on the fossil fuels, right? So these are mainly released from the automobiles and burning of fossil fuels, the coal, petrol, diesel. Okay, so these are caused by the burning of the fossil fuels. What are the examples? So benzopyrene, 3,4-benzopyrene, methane, benzene, aromatic compounds, these are all released by the burning of the fossil fuels. And you know what happens? Methane, as I told you, it causes natural pollution also, because it is the most abundant hydrocarbon in the atmosphere. First of all, it is the most abundant hydrocarbon, okay? And its main source is the marshy area and the paddy field, where it is continuously released, okay? What are the effects? When inhaled, these hydrocarbons, they have the tendency to cause lung cancer. So these hydrocarbons, they causes what? Lung cancer. You know what? Various automobiles, they release the smokes which are released by them. They contain really high concentration of carbon monoxide, nitric oxide. So that is why, continuous changes are taking place in order to curb their release. In order to inhibit their release or to control their release, a very good measure was the utilization of catalytic converters in various automobiles. What are these catalytic converters? These catalytic converters, they contain, they contain highly expensive metals like the platinum, okay, palladium, rhodium. So these catalytic converters, they contain this platinum, palladium, rhodium, and what they do, they are fitted, these catalytic converters, they are fitted in the automobiles. Okay, and now what happens? Excuse me. They reduce the poisonous gas which are released from these automobiles. How come? So what happens? Like all the carbon monoxide which is getting released from these automobiles. So this catalytic converter, these platinum, palladium, rhodium, these will be converting the unburnt hydrocarbon. Will be converting the unburnt hydrocarbon. HC means the hydrocarbon. Unburnt hydrocarbons into carbon dioxide and water, right? Then similarly the carbon monoxide and nitric oxide into carbon dioxide and nitrogen gas. Okay, so this is how they are reducing the poisonous gas which is released from the automobiles. So these catalytic converters, they are fitted in the automobiles. But when these catalytic converters are utilized or used in the vehicle should run in the unleaded platform, unleaded petrol or diesel. Generally, lead is added Generally, lead is added to the petrol or diesel, right? So, in the presence of lead, these catalytic converters, they degrade. Okay, so the vehicles which contains this catalytic converters, they must run on unleaded. That means without the addition of lead, right? Unleaded petrol or diesel. That means unleaded. Okay, moving ahead. Other major air pollutants, ethylene. We know ethylene is a gaseous phytohormone which is released during the ripening of the fruits. Okay, so it is a gaseous phytohormone. So it is released in the air during fruits ripening and falling of leaves without particular reason. It causes falling of leaves without any particular reason because ethylene is known to cause abscission. Abscission is what? Falling, right? Abscission is detachment or falling. So falling of leaf without particular reason, or falling of the flowering bud, which is the flower, the bud which is going to flower, but is still in the bud condition or in the immature stage. So that immature bud is also falled off, or it detaches from the plant in the presence of this ethylene. Okay. Moving ahead, nitrogen oxide. Another source of pollution, again, it is released into the atmosphere by the burning of the fossil fuels in the automobiles. And these nitrogen oxide, they play a very significant role in the formation of a secondary pollutant. Yes, you heard it right. Secondary pollutant. We will be seeing that during the formation of photochemical smoke, this presence of nitrogen oxide in the atmosphere played a really good role. Okay. So the nitrogen oxide, they form photochemical smoke and they release ozone in the atmosphere. Now, ozone are of two types, good ozone and bad ozone. So, good ozone is present in the stratosphere layer of the atmosphere. Bad ozone, which is harmful to us, is present in the troposphere layer of the atmosphere, or in the lower layer of the atmosphere, right? This is the bad ozone which I'm talking about. Now, nitrogen oxides, they are also responsible for the acid rain. You must have heard about various monuments which are getting corroded these days due to the impact of pollution. One such example is the erosion of the walls of the Taj Mahal in the Agra, or the Red Fort in the Delhi. So what is happening? These poisonous chemicals, these poisonous gases, in the air, when they combine with the rainwater, okay, this nitrogen oxides, when they combine with the rainwater, it forms nitrous oxide, or nitric acid. It forms nitric acid. Similarly, the sulfur dioxide which is present in the atmosphere, it forms sulfuric acid. And when the rainwater, it comes down, it contains those acids dissolved in them because of the presence of high concentration of these pollutants. And now when these acids, they fall on the walls of those marbles or stones, so the wall gets eroded. Okay. So entry of these nitrogen oxide causes respiratory trouble such as emphysema, okay, bronchitis, swelling of lungs, or lung cancer. You can clearly see that the air pollution, they are severely affecting our respiratory system in one or other way. It causes a number of diseases. Okay. Similarly, talking about the sulfur oxide. Okay, sulfur dioxide, sulfur trioxide. So they are the most harmful gaseous pollutants, students. They are the most harmful gaseous pollutants, and the main source of sulfur oxides are the coal burning, the smelters in the industries, or the oil refineries. So these are the major source of introducing sulfur oxide into the atmosphere. And as a effect, what happens? In the presence of sulfur pollution, lichens and mosses are unable to grow. We know lichens and mosses forms the pioneer community to inhabit any barren area, right? And the absence of lichens and mosses denotes the presence of sulfur oxide pollution in that particular environment. They can also be termed as pollution indicator, and specifically the sulfur oxide pollution indicator. Okay, so the lichen and mosses do not grow in sulfur polluted areas. Lichen and mosses are indicator of sulfur dioxide pollution. And as I told you that they also participate in acid rain and smog formation in the atmosphere. Smog is what? Smog is secondary pollutant. That means it is formed by the reaction among the primary pollutant as a result of synergism. Okay. Similarly, smoke. Smoke is the combination of various gases which are present in the atmosphere, like the sulfur oxides, the nitrogen oxides, the carbon oxides, carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide. So these together, when combined together, they form the smoke. There are the various types of air pollutants which are existing in the atmosphere. Now, Since we have discussed the primary type of air pollutants, let us go through the secondary air pollutants. Okay. So the secondary air pollutants, which we will be discussing mainly about smog and acid rain. Okay. So first of all is smog. Smog is the combination of smoke and fog. That is, when smoke combines with the fog, okay, it results in the formation of smog. And this smog is measured by Ringelmann method. Just need to know the name. Now, there are two very famous smog which in the history has impacted or devastated human lives. The first one is the Los Angeles smog or the photochemical smog. So what happened in this process? You know, this smoke, that means the mixture of various gases, mixture of oxides of sulfur, nitrogen, carbon. The smoke was present in the atmosphere because of high pollution. The fog was present, right? Nitrogen oxide, hydrocarbons, unburnt hydrocarbons, you can clearly say. Okay, oxygen in the presence of UV light and high temperature. Okay, so all these conditions, all these primary, the pollutant, they combine together in the presence of UV light. Okay, the source of UV light is sun rays, and in the presence of high temperature. That means this smog formation was taking place during the daytime, because during the daytime the sunlight was visible, the sunlight was present, and temperature, the high temperature was caused because of the presence of sun. We know sun is the source of temperature also and light also, right? So in order to form photochemical smog, the condition is high temperature. In the presence of high temperature, this photochemical smog was formed. Now, what happened as a result of the combination reaction which took place in between them, that means as a result of the synergistic reaction or synergism, what happened? A reddish brown smog was formed. A brown haze, you can say a brown haze or reddish brown haze was produced, and it consisted of PAN. PAN stands for peroxyacetyl nitrate. So PAN, I have written it over here. PAN stands for peroxyacetyl nitrate. So this photochemical smog or Los Angeles smog, known as Los Angeles because it was observed in Los Angeles. Okay, and it is known as light-induced smog because it is forming in the presence of light. So it is a light-induced smog, and it has a very highly deleterious effect on the life of living organisms. You can clearly see this image. This image is from Los Angeles, and that too during the formation of this photochemical smog. You can clearly see this brown haze has surrounded the entire city, and which is making the respiration highly difficult for all the living organisms. So what happened? This presence of peroxyacetyl nitrate, it stops or inhibits the photolysis of water, which is taking place during the photosynthesis. We know that the photosystem too is responsible for this photolysis of water. So basically PAN, peroxyacetyl nitrate, it either inhibits or stops the PS2 of the photosynthesis, thus inhibiting the photolysis. Similarly, it also inhibits the chlorophyll formation in the plants. Okay, so once the chlorophyll formation is inhibited, its efficiency to photosynthesize in the presence of sunlight will also be hampered. Then what happens? In animals, it causes irritation in the eyes and harms the lungs because we are continuously inhaling, and it causes various diseases in the lungs. Okay, and in fact, due to the presence of this smog, various, the severity was that the plastic present in that environment was also getting affected. The plastic also lost its property. So, the elastic substances, the rubber, tires, they also got affected. They went flat. Okay, so smog causes damage in the rubbers also. So you can visualize if it has that severe effect in the plastic, how much severe effect it would have caused in the human being. Okay, so it was the Los Angeles smog or the photochemical smog, which is classically known as light-induced smog because it required high temperature condition. Okay, now moving ahead towards the second type, which is the London smog or sulfur smog. Now it was first observed in London. Okay, and because of this smog, which was observed at around 1952, 4,000 people died, which is on record. right? So 4,000 people died in London because of inhalation of these, smoke. So what happened? How was this smoke formed? So in this process, coal, smoke, smoke, fog, sulfur oxide, and low temperature. This is the difference between the two types of smoke. Here high temperature was required, here low temperature was essential. So these components, they combined together. Okay, so these components, they reacted together and formed the vapor of sulfuric acid. So they formed the vapor of H2SO4, and H2SO4 we know is what? Sulfuric acid. So this sulfuric acid vapor is known as London smog. Okay, so the vapor of sulfuric acid is known as what? London smog. And due to inhalation of the sulfuric acid vapor alone, 4,000 people died in London. You can clearly see how, the entire environment, entire atmosphere is covered with this smog. And what is this? It is the presence of sulfuric acid vapor. Okay. Now, moving ahead towards the second type of secondary pollutants, it is the acid rain. So we clearly have seen the primary pollutants. Now we have clearly seen the example of secondary pollutant, the first type of secondary pollutant, which was the smog, which was the combination of smoke and fog. Now moving ahead towards the secondary pollutant, second type of secondary pollutant, which is the acid rain. So acid rain. See, I have told you that the nitrogen oxides, the sulfur oxides, which is present in the atmosphere in different forms, right? In the smoke, they are present. When they combine or when they dissolve with the water vapor, which is present in the atmosphere, they form what? They form sulfuric acid and nitric acid. Okay, so H2SO4 and HNO3, sulfuric acid and nitric acid. So NO2 and SO2, sulfur dioxide and nitrogen dioxide. Okay, or you can say the sulfur dioxide and nitrogen dioxide released from different sources in the form of smoke and dissolved in atmospheric water vapor to form sulfuric acid and nitric acid. And the ratio was 70% of the H2SO4 combined with the 30% of the nitric acid. And when they were present in the atmosphere, in the vapor form, right, they can either come down in the precipitation form along with the rain. This is known as wet deposition. Okay, so this wet deposition is what? If acid comes down on earth with rain or fog or smoke. Okay, in fact, they remain settled on the earth's surface to the solid dust particles. That means the coating over the dust particle of these, acid was formed. Okay, so this is the type of dry deposition. So acid rain is possible in two forms, either in the wet deposition form or either in the dry deposition form. Okay, so both these form, they hampered a lot. They negatively harmed the environment significantly. Okay, so what they did, basically the pH of the acid rain, as we know that the sulfuric acid and the nitric acid was formed, so pH was generally less than 5.6. And the ratio, as I've told you, 7:3. This is important from examination point of view. And what happens because of this acid rain, the acidity, okay, or we can say acidicity of the soil. Okay, the correct term is acidicity of the soil and water increases. Acid rain also causes damages to historical monuments. I have explained you the process. Example was the Taj Mahal or the Red Fort, right? The acid rain causes the erosion of the surface of the, of these monuments. Moving ahead, let us now understand the other significant effect which is taking place in the Earth's atmosphere, which is the greenhouse effect. So we have clearly understood what is air pollution. What are the major important source of air pollution? The gases and the particulates, right? Then what are the primary pollutants? How are they impacting us or our lives? Then what are the secondary pollutants? Now let us go through what is greenhouse effect. Well, this name greenhouse effect is derived from the greenhouse phenomena. What was greenhouse phenomena? Remember, during your early classes, you must have heard or seen this house which is made up of glass. This house which is made up of glass, and inside which, various plants are grown, especially in the winter season. So what happens? The radiations which are coming from the sun, they enter into this glass house, and they are not able to go back in the same order in which they came in. So what happened? The radiations were trapped inside that glass house, keeping the inner environment warm, right? In this way, it was helping the plants to grow, right? So this greenhouse effect name is derived from this greenhouse phenomena itself. So what happens? there are certain gases which are known as greenhouse gases, and their increased concentration in the atmosphere has now formed a thick layer, above the Earth's surface. Now, due to the presence of the thick layer of these greenhouse gases over the Earth's surface, what happens? The radiation of the sun which is entering the Earth, okay, it is entering inside the Earth, the short infrared radiation, but it is not able to go back. Okay, so what happens? When carbon dioxide is present in higher concentration, it forms a thick layer above the Earth's surface. It checks the radiation of the heat from the Earth's surface. How? Let's see. What happens? The major greenhouse gases are the carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide. Apart from this, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, ozone, water vapor, and chlorofluorocarbons. They also have a significant role to play. And the sources of all these are from the industries, or from the refrigerators, or from the air conditioners, or from the automobile exhaust, or from the agricultural waste which we are producing. All these are contributing to this greenhouse effect. Right? So now what is happening? The sun rays which is entering into the Earth's atmosphere. Okay? Earth absorbs a significant amount of this radiation and reflects back. But when it is reflecting back, those radiation are unable to go out of the Earth's surface. It is getting trapped, or it is getting absorbed by these greenhouse gases. And these greenhouse gases, it reflects those gases back into the Earth's surface, thus increasing the temperature of the Earth. Okay, and increasing the global average temperature of the Earth, which is contributing to the phenomena which is known as global warming. Well, it is because of this greenhouse effect only that the mean average temperature of Earth, okay, which would have been minus 18 degrees centigrade if this greenhouse effect would not have been there. So the average mean temperature of Earth would have been minus 18 degrees centigrade. But because of this greenhouse effect, it is now maintained at an average of 15 degrees centigrade. But due to increase in the, due to disturb in the balance, now it is significantly contributing to the phenomena which is known as global warming. In the past 3 decades only, the Earth mean temperature has increased from 0.6 degrees centigrade. Okay, and what will happen? This increased temperature of Earth will lead to submission or submersion of the islands into the sea and oceans, melting of the glacier caps. Okay, so due to this, what will happen? These all things which I've just said will be taking place. Okay, so this is the greenhouse effect. Now, let us talk about another important phenomena which is taking place in the Earth, which is the ozone depletion. Now, what is ozone? Ozone, also known as O3, ozone, formed by the oxygen, right? The molecular oxygen, it combines with this oxygen radical and forms the ozone. This reaction or this formation of ozone takes place in the presence of UV rays. So this formation of ozone as well as the breakdown of ozone both takes place in the presence of this UV rays in the outer atmosphere of Earth. Okay, so there must be a balance between this formation and breakdown process. But now, because of certain substances which promote ozone depletion, the degradation of the ozone is taking place at a much faster rate. Okay, so the ozone concentration, I'm talking about the good ozone, not about the bad ozone which is present in the troposphere. I'm talking about the ozone which protects us from various harmful radiation, especially the UV rays, and which is present at the stratosphere layer of the atmosphere, right? So this ozone concentration is maximum in the atmosphere at the height of 16 to 25 kilometers on Earth, that is the stratosphere. And its normal thickness, which is observed at normal optimum temperature and pressure, is 3 mm. But ozone is thickest at the poles, which is at 4 mm, right? But for the first time in 1985, it was observed by Nimbus 7 satellite over the Antarctica region that there is, thinning of ozone has taken place. And that thinning of ozone is known as ozone hole. So that thinning of ozone is known as what? Ozone hole. And now because of that ozone depletion which has taken place, the UV rays which are coming from the sun rays or sunlight is able to penetrate the Earth atmosphere successfully, right? And in fact, after penetrating the UV radiations, which have wavelength less than UVB. That means I'm talking about UVC's wavelength, okay? From 100 nanometer to 200 nanometer. The wavelength of UVC is this only. We have seen our previous class. So what happens? This UV is successfully penetrating the, is affecting the skin, because the skin is now exposed to those UV radiations. It will enter into the cell. Now the DNA and the proteins which are present in our cells, they have this tendency to absorb this UV radiation, to absorb this UV light. And this UV light, it is known as a mutagen. Why? Because it alters the genetic, structure of the cell. Okay, so it is known as a mutagen, and it causes various diseases. Once upon exposure of the skin, it causes aging of the skin, or various harmful diseases, skin cancer, the melanomas. Okay, the cornea of the eye, it also absorbs UV, which causes blindness, which is known as snow blindness or cataract. Okay, and it also causes a genetic disorder which is known as xeroderma pigmentosum. Okay, which causes reddishness or pigmentation in the skin even in short exposure to the sunlight. So these are the various harmful effects which is happening in the presence of UV rays, and which is taking place because of depletion in the ozone layer, which was the protective layer. Now, what are those ozone depleting substances? So students, the ozone depleting substances are the chlorofluorocarbons. They are the major ozone depleting substances, although there are other substances also, like the nitrogen oxides, methane, and halogens, which are also contributing to this process of ozone depletion. But these chlorofluorocarbons, they are the main culprits. So they have the contribution of approximately 14%, as compared to nitrogen oxides, which contribute to 3.5%, okay, in the process of ozone depletion. And the major source of this chlorofluorocarbons are the refrigerators, the air conditioners, the jet planes. Okay, so they are all contributing to the release of this chlorofluorocarbons in the atmosphere. Now what happens? This chlorofluorocarbons, they contains, chlorine, and in the presence of UV light, this chlorine is, these chlorofluorocarbons, they break and they release chlorine. And this chlorine, again in the presence of UV light, it reacts with the ozone molecules, which are O3 molecules, ozone molecules, which is present on the ozone layer, and forms chlorine oxide, thus breaking the ozone molecule, releasing the molecular oxygen, right? Again, you can clearly see this chlorine oxide is again combining with this oxygen radical. Okay, the chlorine is now freely available and molecular oxygen is formed. So what is happening? Ozone is getting depleted, and the chlorine here is acting merely as a catalyst, because it is not getting consumed in the reaction. It is absolutely available free. So how much amount of CFCs you are adding to the atmosphere, it is continuously adding on to this process of ozone depletion, because the chlorine is not getting consumed. It is getting created again and again after the end of the reaction, and it is continuously interacting with the ozone. Okay, and this is how depletion of ozone layer is taking place in the atmosphere. Because of the presence of the CFC, the balance between the formation and the depletion of ozone has disturbed. Now the depletion process has started at a much faster rate. Okay, now the thickness of ozone is measured in the Dobson unit. Okay, and one Dobson unit is equivalent to 1 parts per billion. This is what? This is parts per billion. Okay, so this is about the ozone depletion. So we have studied various parameters related to air pollution. Now let us go through how these air pollution can be controlled. So the control of air pollution. Okay, in order to control these air pollution, there can be various measures, but some important one are the utilization or use of arresters and scrubbers. So what are these arresters? So these arresters are used to separate the particulate matters which are suspended in the air, which are contaminating the air by their presence. So these arresters, they separate those particulate matters, and they are of various types. The most common 2 types are discussed here. Okay, first one being the cyclonic separators, also known as the trajectory separators. Okay, you can see the image here in this picture. So these separators, they work on the principle of centrifugal force. The dust particles which are suspended are, are present due to the presence of the centrifugal force. They are present towards the corner, and the fresh air is taken out. It is used in the industrial emissions with minimum moisture content. That means it is a sort of dry air. When the sort of dry air is present, then this cyclonic separator is used to separate the particulate dust matters. Okay. The next method is the electrostatic precipitation filter. It is, it is the most efficient device. It almost, it is utilized in various places. So it is the most efficient device to remove the particulate pollutants. It approximately removes 99% of the particulate. Okay, and it works on the principle of electrical charging of the dust particles. So what happens? See, first of all, the charged electrode wires are present. Okay, these electrode wires, they contain very high threshold voltage. Okay, and in between there contains a discharge of electrons. There is present a discharge of electrons, as you can clearly see with the help of this arrow, right? So these are the electric wires, which are creating the discharge of electrons, and these electrons then go and surround the dust particles, coating them negatively. Right? Now these dust particles, they have this negative charge. Okay, so this is the dust particle. Now it will be having this negative charge because of the surrounding of the electron. Now what happens? This same air is passed through a plate which contains positive charge. Okay, and the speed of the air when it is passing over those plates is maintained slow. Now in the presence of the slow speed, what happens? This negatively charged dust particles, they get attracted towards this positively charged plate, and they get stuck on those plates. And this is how the air gets separated from those dust particles. So this is the electrostatic precipitation filter. Okay, I hope you understood this process. Now moving ahead, let us see how these scrubbers work. So these scrubbers, they are used to clean air from both, that means the dust particles also and from the gases also. And there are two different types of scrubbers. The wet scrubbers, where the contaminated air is sprayed with lime solution or water with the help of this spray tower. Okay, so what happens in the presence of this spray, the dust and the dust particles, they settle down. And there are also dry type of scrubbers. This image is for dry scrubbers. Okay, so these scrubbers, they are used to separate the dust as well as gases from the contaminated air. So this is how, by installing these instruments, you can have a real check on the quality of the air which is released into the surrounding. Okay, moving ahead. Other methods which can help in the control of these gaseous pollutants include the combustion, the absorption, and the adsorption technique. Now, what is this combustion? So we know combustion is burning, right, in the presence of oxygen. So what happens? The oxidizable gaseous pollutants, they are burnt at extremely high temperature. This is the process of combustion. Examples: the petrochemical bases, the fertilizers, paints, and varnish industries. All these industries, they use this method of combustion to get rid of those oxidizable gaseous pollutants. Next is absorption. So what happens? The gaseous pollutants which are present in the air are made to get absorbed in a suitable absorbent, which is generally liquid in nature. And the last method is the adsorption, where what happens? The toxic gas or the harmful gas which is present in the air, which is making it contaminated. So all those toxic gases or vapors or the inflammable compound are made to get adsorbed on the surface of a solid. Okay, so this is the phenomena of adsorption. Okay, students. Now there are some other methods which can be utilized in a day-to-day life, which will reduce the air pollution. For example, when we are using our vehicles, we can, the engines of the vehicle should be kept off when we are waiting for the traffic lights in our regular day-to-day routine, right? So that they are not continuously put in the on state. They are not continuously releasing those harmful smoke into the atmosphere. Okay. The barium compound, which is mixed with petrol. So when barium is mixed with petrol, it also reduces the smoke. So barium mixing is also advisable. Then what happens? The gases which are released from the factories, they should be checked, and they should be, checked for its quality. And if it is beyond the permissible quality, then various instruments should be installed over there, which controls the quality of the gas which is being released from those factories. Then the industries which are getting settled, they should not be settled at any particular location. Why? Because if they will be localized at one place, then the environment of that particular place will become polluted because of the release of the emissions from those industries. Okay, and in fact, the smoke which is released from those industries, should not directly be released. It should be filtered. It should be purified. Then only it should be released in the atmosphere. And for the particle size which are larger than 50 micrometer, gravity settling tanks or porous filters should be used. Okay, in fact, as I told you that the particle size, the suspended particles, the particle size which is less than 2.5 mm, that means P 2.5, it poses most serious threat. It is most harmful to humans. Okay, so this it is also known as suspended particulate matter, SPM. It is also known as what? SPM. So whenever you look for pollution board, you can clearly see that the Central Pollution Control Board, it provides us the detail of SPM, suspended particulate matter in the air. Okay, and P is 2.5. That means particulate size which is 2.5 or less than 2.5. It is the most harmful to humans. Okay, it should not be present in any ways. Moving ahead. Let us go through a case study in the Delhi, which is also given in the NCERT. So, you know what? During 1990s, when the air quality of various cities of the world was, checked, Delhi, it stood fourth among the 41 countries, 41 cities of the world, right? So it was the fourth most polluted city. Okay. So, a PIL, a public litigation, PIL was formed in the Supreme Court, okay, which had drawn the focus of the honorable court to this issue which was taking place, and which was continuously expanding, and which was harming our day-to-day life, right? So, as a control measure, various efforts were taken, various measures were taken by Delhi government, which helped to bring the quality of air to a more, you can say, clearer level or to a breathable level. Although the present day scenario is also very worse. We know that the present government also has tried various things. They have banned the burning of the crackers. They have even tried the odd even vehicular transportation mode also. The burning of the croplands, it is also banned in the area, okay, near to NCR. But then also, the pollution is not controlled. So in 1990s, what happened? All the public vehicles, they were gradually shifted from the fossil fuels to CNG mode. CNG stands for compressed natural gas. As you might think that how is this compressed natural gas beneficial as compared to the fossil fuels? See what happens. First of all, the fossil fuels upon burning, they release a large amount of unburnt hydrocarbons, which are anyways another cause of air pollution, right? And these CNG, they release very little amount of these unburnt hydrocarbons to the atmosphere. They are easily available also. They are cheaper than the fossil fuels also, right? So what happens? The only concern with the use of CNG was to make it available without any disruption. It cannot be, contaminated by mixing. It cannot be taken away by thieves also. There were various advantages of using the CNG. So all the public transport was shifted from fossil fuel mode to CNG mode. In fact, various norms were set up. First of all the old vehicles were phased out. Okay, so phasing out of all the old vehicles. Phasing out of old vehicles was one of the measures. Then the petrol which was used should be unleaded petrol. That means the lead in the petrol was not allowed. Unleaded petrol or diesel was used there. Then in fact the sulfur which is used in the petrol, so low sulfur petrol or diesel was allowed. Okay. Then the catalytic converters. I have discussed the catalytic converters. So the catalytic converters were must or mandatory in the vehicles. Similarly, various stringent norms to control the pollution, okay, were made mandatory for vehicles. In fact, right now also you must have seen, for every vehicle there is a paper, which is the pollution paper. Like after every 6 months, your vehicle is gone for a pollution checkup. If the smoke which is coming out of the vehicle is within the permissible limit, okay, then then the vehicle is made pollution fit, okay. Otherwise, the pollution paper is not given to you, okay. So these are various norms which were taken. And also, it was said that the amount or the percentage or the concentration of the sulfur in the petrol and the diesel vehicle should also be brought down. Okay, so it was said, according to the Euro 3 norms, it was said that the sulfur, it should be controlled at 350 parts per million in the diesel vehicle, whereas 150 parts per million in the petrol vehicle. Similarly, the aromatic hydrocarbons which are released should be contained at 42% of the concerned fuel, be it petrol or diesel. Okay, and the goal was to reduce the sulfur content to 50 ppm in the petrol and diesel, and the aromatic hydrocarbons to 35%. Okay, the BS3, the BS3 vehicles were allowed to move in various cities. Okay, and it came into effect from October 2010. The BS2, Bharat Stage 2 was not allowed. BS3 is equivalent to Euro 3 norms. Okay, so you can clearly see the four-wheelers with BS3 were allowed, four-wheelers with BS4 in the 13 mega cities from April 2010. Okay, three-wheelers with BS3 from October 2010 in throughout the country. Two-wheelers from with BS3 norms October 2010 throughout the country. So these was the implementation date. Okay, so all the engines of the automobiles were also modified, were also you can say advanced in order to follow up with these changes, which helped us in reducing the air pollution in the environment. Okay. So students, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed today's class, and today's class helped you in getting some knowledge and getting some idea about air pollution, how is it created, how it is affecting us, and how we can have a control on it. Okay. So before taking your leave, again, if you have still not taken Unacademy Plus or Iconic subscription, please go to the subscription to start your preparation under the best available guidance under the topmost team of educators. Okay. And do not forget to use my referral code, which is AG001, to get an instant 10% discount. Okay. Well, I'm live daily at 5 p.m. on your favorite channel, Let's Crack NEET UG in English, for regular conceptual classes. I'm live daily at 11:30 a.m. on Unacademy Learning app for my free of cost special classes. Okay. And on Unacademy Learning app, right now I'm conducting a session on biomolecules. I'm going to start tomorrow the proteins. So those who have any doubts on the biomolecular part can come and join my class over there. Okay. So thank you. Have a nice day. Take care.